Hello everyone, this is Pojo. I'm going to be casting a Terran vs Zerg for you today against the Zerg player TYOB. This is basically just a nice long game that I had a little while ago, and I was really eager to cast it, so I'm going to do that now, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This is essentially me trying to get back up the Platinum ladder a little bit. I've been a bit out of practice, so I've been trying to play a bit more macro APM sort of oriented games and just sort of get some practice in and really start to buckle down as my various races. So this is a Terran vs Zerg on Desert Oasis. Desert Oasis, this is patch 1.1 and beyond, as you can see by the destructible rocks on Desert Oasis. I'm not a huge fan of these rocks, really. I don't think that they add a lot of value to the map, but I think we will see some play on these rocks during this game, so I may eat my words. Let's see here. Okay, so, as you can see, I'm starting off with a nice early supply depot. I'm not going for the wall in, because I sort of feel like Desert Oasis does have the capacity to sort of, things do get picked off often on those ramps when you have lots of ranged units. And I know I'm up against a Zerg player, but all the same, I feel a little safer going for a sort of SimCities type build where I wall a bit in with this. At the same time, I should be going for an early refinery, or a fairly early refinery. I'm probably going to be going for the 1-1-1 build, at least that's how I remember it, so maybe I'll do something really silly and pretend it was the 1-1 build. Alright, my opponent is going for a pool on 13, which suggests he's going for something fast, but he's already got a gas up. And that's kind of interesting because he actually hasn't put anything on it yet, so maybe that's a bit of a blunder on his part. He was just trying to free up some supply, I don't know. Basically, if you don't have the... Yeah, at this point, there's no reason for that extractor to be up unless he's going to start mining from it. But now he's got units queued towards that building, so as far as that goes, that should work out pretty well for him. It looks like he's saving... Well, no, he's really just sort of putting as much into his drones as possible, so he's probably not going to go for any sort of fast expand build. And I have sent out my Asivia Scout, so I will be seeing what comes up next. I am building my barracks. I've got my orbital command center. I'm basically on correct timing. He's got that overlord directly in my base, but he's already out, so he's going to take some free pot shots at him. That's good for me. My opponent getting a Roach Warren up. I did see this Roach Warren before I sort of... oh yeah, I still see this Roach Warren because my sim is right there. And so I know that he is going for some sort of early push, probably, along the lines of using lots of roaches to just sort of make a nasty mess. So probably my next move will be after the fact that or Marauders. And there's the tech lab, so I am going to be putting up some Marauders to defend against those roaches. Now, of course, the rush distance on Desert Oasis is quite heavy for ground, so you do have to have a pretty extensive push force, you do need to continue to reinforce, and you do generally have to be well ahead in order to play well in this particular instance. My opponent getting his queen up, that's a little late for the queen, once again, but, you know, we're both probably making several mistakes at this point. Yeah, for example, I supply box myself, so there's that for you. I'm gonna set down a supply depot, and yeah, looks like I won't be building anything for a little bit, but at the same time I can put up my starport, make sure that all of that money isn't going to waste, so that'll work out just fine. Am I researching concussive shells? No, I don't have the gas yet, so. But we do have the roaches, and the first couple of roaches are coming out. All of these eggs, what are these eggs? Overlord, roach. So yes, he is going for a big heavy roach push. I've got these marines down here patrolling against Overlord scouts. I know, of course, that there is an Overlord back in this direction somewhere, but I just don't want to see another one, so... yeah, just... I at this point, like, I should maybe be on the lookout for Zerglings, but I did see that Roach Warren, so I do know that the first thing that's probably going to be happening in terms of pushes is those roaches. And because of that supply block, I don't have enough units up to really defend against the roach push, but I do have this nice positioning here of the base. Like, I really think this particular concave prevents the Zergs around quite well, and it just seemed to work out pretty well for me, or it looks quite pretty, and it seems safe, and it's very important that things feel correct. I have been watching quite a few Day 9 casts, and if you don't know who Day 9 is, I suggest you try looking at some of the archives of his live streams, because they're really quite fantastic. So yeah, I do have, of course, my units right here on top of the sledge here. That's very useful because it means that I get a lot of free shots on those roaches, and I also know that those roaches are coming around. And TYOB harass, and that should be good for him. He does have, let's see, 6, 7 roaches there, and I know that they're all there because I saw them all go by. I wounded quite a few of them. I'm actually pretty confident that I can fight them off with these marauders, and this one Hellion to sort of like tank up, and won't do a lot to roaches, but it can't kite them and make a mess, and just generally do bad things. Okay, so I am moving out. Just going to scout out with that Hellion. I assume that he's sitting on my expansion, trying to make it so that I can't expand, but he isn't, so the next thing that I of course have to assume is that he's gone for my destructible rocks. And he's sitting his units right down my destructible rocks, but I honestly think this is a really bad play, trying to attack the destructible rocks from the expand, because basically what it does is so that I have him sort of walled in up against these rocks, so if I make any moves on him before he is really ready, like that's just really bad for him. Setting up my command center on top here, I am going to actually try for an expand because I know for a fact that we're going to be trading armies really quick here. Massacre. He burrows his last roach. I actually didn't see that, so that's good for him, I guess. He did research burrow quite early, so he probably wants to play a couple of fun roach games. I'm guessing he's going for tunneling claws as well. Production tab. Yeah, there's the tunneling claws. There's some roaches. I'm getting my first banshee up out of that fast starport, and getting a second banshee as well. Probably going to go for a little bit of harass here. I am in a pretty big macro. I think the roaches saw that banshee, which is why they all burrowed at the same time there, and that's also oh, the banshee doesn't have cloak or anything. Probably should have gone ahead and tried to take out the did not, so now it's just going to, yeah, this is not particularly good harass by any means, and I am going to take quite a few hits. So looks like I'm going to the day. I'm not going to even get a single drone. No, I think that this Banshee's really not done his job, so now he's dead. My opponent getting his expansion up. I already have my command center finished, so I just need to float it down now. The roaches now have their tunneling claws, so they're going to start moving in for an attack. That means they're going to see this command center floating right above, and that should, yeah, that should obviously be key to them, because it means that I'm expanding. So there the roaches come in. My troops are moving to protect it from any sort of early roach push. And now the roaches are right up here. I have a banshee just sort of sitting here. It doesn't really want to go out and harass right now, so I'm going to do alright. Works. And I am of course moving my units back. I think the banshee's going to do a fine job. At the same time, roaches do leave this nice little burrow trail. I think you can see it. Or at least you will be able to see it from my point of view when he burrows his units again. Figuring out where his units are. Well, I just scanned them, so that little tricky maneuver, of course, isn't going to do anything this time around. Alright, so my SCV is starting running again. It's very important to pull them off if you're getting harassed by any sort of large force, because if you lose a bunch of SCVs just because you're too stubborn to quit mining, then you're kind of in some trouble. Okay, so my opponent has more roaches coming in, but once again, you can't actually see the roaches. They leave a little like path when they're all burrowed just at once like that. It's just a little shadow, something that you can sort of detect. And as a result, I don't think I'm paying attention to them right now, but they are going to get a little scout off of my marauders and then go straight for this command center. So, yeah. So if you keep eyes out for them, it's much like detecting cloaked units, except that it's burrow units. So there you go. Alright, roaches floating over to my command center. I haven't really populated this yet. I have 2, 3 SCVs. Unfortunately, I do put down the mules just when the roaches are getting under. I just don't see the so the roaches do get put down the mules. That's going to cost me 600 minerals overall, so not a bad trade there. And now the roaches are heading out. This is the point where I really start to pick up on that path, because you can just see it right there. So my Marauder is just going to stand right there. I don't have enough energy to do a comsat scan because I just put down both of those mules. So as a result, I'm just going to keep my Marauders right on top of those roaches and just sort of chase them around a little bit. In the meantime, go ahead and populate my command center, and Marauders continue to chase those roaches around. This Banshee just sort of standing here, being helpful.
Ready to raise some
More
hell.
Hellions coming out. I am getting the Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade because maybe so there's that. Okay, my opponent now doing Roach Hydra, which is a fairly strong ground build. Like you normally would expect people in Desert Oasis to go Mutas after this. I believe I've already gotten that engineering bay up so that I can put down some turrets, but I'm not really seeing any signs of Spire or anything like that. I'm not scouting him particularly well, of course. I don't even know he's got this expansion. I'm assuming he has this expansion because he hasn't made any major pushes with roaches lately, so as such he's probably got a few extra minerals sort of bouncing around there. I'm getting my first Raven up, which is of course detection for the roaches, but I also do like to use the spells on that Raven quite a bit. They're all extremely useful and can really turn matches when you want them to. So, one moment. It should be noted that whenever I say hold on a minute, it means I'm about to leave for hours. Okay, so, where were we? Yes, my opponent has this big Roach Hydra army, and he's going to start maybe pushing with it soon. He's certainly controlling that nice choke point there. Now that that choke point is a lot smaller, it's actually really an excellent spot to hold because you get all that vision out there. These, of course, this grass, of course, makes it really quite defendable. The roach is in entirely the wrong position, and look at this army comp. This is just very nicely placed out. You've got the Valkyries right there in the middle with the roaches on either side. It makes it very hard for me to get Hellions in and like actually use the counters that I effectively have. And I do have a huge amount of Marauders and Blue Flame Hellions, so like normally I would be in very, very good shape. Catching the just a little bit of position. The Hydras get plenty of shots off, and basically just using to regenerate them. Yeah, that's actually really quite good army control. It made him. It not only made me think that he had a much smaller army than he did, but well, now he's not unburrowing those roaches, so that's a problem. Alright, so I have my Raven here. He's obviously pushing upwards. I'm in something of a tight spot here. I can put my grenades on top of this bunker here, so that's going to help me with holding it, but I'm going to have to use the SCVs away, and I'm going to lose at least one SCV. And yep, I'm going to lose that man center wholeheartedly because I lost that fight so bad. So yeah, that's going to set me back quite a bit, even though he hasn't really been saturating this expansion all that much. He should be mining quite well in comparison to me. I'm getting my cloaking fields up, and I'm getting another Banshee, more Hellions. Looks like he's going for Zerg Ground Carapace level 1, which is a really good idea. It's very effective against Terrans. It makes it so that lots of units take less damage from things like tanks, especially Zerglings, and of course ground armor and weaponry are both very important due to their relevance in the later culturists. Okay, my opponent finally knocking down those destructible rocks. I really think that he should have just gone for the push right here, but instead he decides to open up this reinforcing lane, even though his units are still coming up this way, so that's not really all that great for him. I've got a Thor up. I've got two Banshees. The Banshees are getting their cloaking fields, and they already have their cloaking fields, in fact, so they're going to go ahead and push out and catch these guys up. And that forces this guy to yeah, he burrows all over the place. And now he's coming up with it. Okay, so clearly I think this one shifting away as opposed to really good spot right there. Basically take out all of those Hydralisks very, very nicely, and then the Marauders do their job. The Thor does his tanking. Yeah, everything just sort of went right for me in that fight, and that's really kind of good to hold myself back into this game. Okay, so I have these Banshees here. They are going to pick a fight, but yeah, not really going to lose. My opponent has an Overseer up now, so he is not going to lose any